Kindergarten is a popular video game series where you play as a kindergartner, exposing and thwarting the sinister plans of the school and their principals. Along the way, you collect Monstermon cards, trading cards based on memes and other popular trading card games. And that made me think, what if Monstermon cards were in Pokémon, the trading card game? Monstermon cards are relatively simple. Take Chill Stump for example, a green plant type Monstermon. With the offensive ability, 1 mana, deal 2 damage, and the defensive ability, 1 mana, reduce the damage from blue Monstermon by 3. Converting this card, I would make it a basic grass type card with 50 health, and the effects, Branch Poke, 1 grass energy, deal 20 damage, times 2 weakness to fire, resist all water type damage by 30, retreat cost, 1 generic, the retreat cost being the amount of energy required to be detached in order to be moved from the active position to the bench, the inactive position. First things first, basic cards are fully unevolved Pokemon or Pokemon that cannot evolve, played directly onto the field without first having the proper pre-evolution on the field. Chill Stump only has 1 move, as even though it has a secondary defensive ability, grass types already have a resistance to water type attacks, so the secondary defensive ability will be redundant. Also, dealing 20 damage for 1 specific type of energy without any other detriment is very strong for a basic Pokemon that can still evolve, so it's fine with only 1 attack. It has 50 health, as the standard health line for basic cards that can still evolve is between 50 to 70 health. Next up is Tallest Tree, a green plant type Monstermon. With the offensive ability, 2 mana, deal 3 damage, plus 3 damage if your hand is all green, must show your hand to your opponent, and defensive ability, 2 mana, block a blue Monstermon, blocking, preventing the card from activating its effect. Converting this card, it may become a stage 1 grass type card that must first be evolved from Chill Stump in order to be played, with 130 health, and the effect, ability, Root Shield, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to Tallest Tree by your opponent's water Pokemon. Timber, 2 grass energy, 30 damage plus. Reveal any number of grass type cards from your hand. This attack does 30 damage plus 20 damage for each card revealed this way, times 2 fire weakness, resist water damage by 30. Retreat cost, 1 generic. Tallest Tree evolves from Chill Stump, as even though these cards are unrelated, they're both trees, so it makes sense. Tallest Tree essentially becomes immune to water type Pokemon, as it's supposed to block all water Monstermons, though it has to be a passive effect, as in the Pokemon trading card game, there aren't any effects you can choose to activate to interrupt your opponent's turn. It has 130 health, as the standard health line for stage 1 cards is between 80 to 200 health. Finally, it deals an extra 20 damage for each grass type Pokemon in your hand, as even though it can become very powerful early on, over the course of a match, you will play all your grass type Pokemon to develop your board, or risk losing on the spot if you run out of usable Pokemon on the field. Next up is a controversial addition, being Cigarettemon, a red magical type Monstermon with the offensive ability, 1 mana, deal 2 damage, and defensive ability, 1 mana, reduce the damage from green Monstermon by 3. Converting this card, it becomes a carbon copy of Chill Stump, with the only difference is that it becomes a fire type, still being a basic card with 50 health, and the effects, Smoke, 1 fire energy, deal 20 damage, times 2 water weakness, resist 30 grass damage, retreat cost, 1 generic. The next card up is Man on Fire, a red unfortunate type Monstermon, with the offensive ability, 1 mana, deal 2 damage, and plus 2 if your last discarded card is red, and defensive ability, 1 mana, reduce any Monstermon's damage by 1. Converting this card, it becomes a stage 1 fire type card that must first evolve from Cigarettemon in order to be played, with 110 health, and the effects, ability, Flame Veil, if any of your fire Pokemon would be damaged by an attack, reduce that damage by 10 after applying weakness and resistance, and the attack, 1 red and 1 generic energy, deal 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each fire Pokemon in your discard pile. Man on Fire evolves from Cigarettemon, as even though there's less continuity than the last pair, my only line of reasoning is that people light cigarettes, and sometimes cigarettes light people on fire. Finally, I changed the damaging effect to deal an extra 20 damage for each fire Pokemon in your discard pile, as 40 damage with no secondary effect is very weak for a stage 1 Pokemon, even with its ability. Next up is Purple Plush, a purple magical type Monstermon with the offensive ability 3 mana, swap health with your opponent, and defensive ability 1 mana, block a yellow Monstermon. Converting this card, I would make it a basic psychic type card with 100 health, and the effects, ability, Standing There. Menacingly! As often as you like during your turn, before you attack, you may move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to Purple Plush as long as you don't knock out Purple Plush. This power can't be used if Purple Plush is affected by a special condition. Share the Pain, 2 Psychic, 1 Generic. You may move damage counters on Purple Plush onto your opponent's active Pokemon until you knock them out, damage counters being the way you measure how hurt your Pokemon is, in which every 1 counter represents 10 damage, times 2 Dark Weakness, retreat cost, 1 Generic. I split Purple Plush's health swap ability into a passive and active ability, as if you could move damage counters on any one of your Pokemon to any of your opponent's Pokemon. You basically get a full restore while instantly killing one of your opponent's Pokemon if their health is low enough. By forcing you to move damage counters onto Purple Plush, it limits how much health you can steal, especially at the cost of 3 energy. It has 100 health, as basic Pokemon that can't evolve often have higher health and better moves than the ones that can still evolve. Finally, it has a Dark Weakness, as all Psychic Pokemon are weak to Dark types. The next card up is Knight Who Turned Evil, a purple humanoid type Monstermon. With the offensive ability 1 mana, gain 3 mana if your last discarded card is blue, and defensive ability 1 mana, block a yellow Monstermon. Converting this card, I would make it a supporter trainer card. With the effect, you can play this card only if you discard another card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 basic water energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. If you discarded a water Pokemon this way, attach up to 2 water energy cards from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Trainer cards are Pokemon's equivalent to spell cards, non-unit cards with passive or instantaneous effects, and supporter cards are a subtype of trainer cards with effects so powerful that you can only use 1 supporter type card per turn. Knight Who Turned Evil has the requirement to discard a card to mimic its discard pile check, as even though it only checks the top card of your discard pile, it's much more annoying to keep your discard pile in order, as players will constantly dig into the pile for resources, with many players referring to it as the second hand, naturally shuffling the discard pile over the course of a game. All of this to say, it takes less effort to discard a card than it is to rearrange the discard pile every time you dig up an energy card. Knight Who Turned Evil only lets you add and attach 2 energy cards instead of 3, as if you subtract the 1 mana to activate the ability, you only gain 2 mana. It lets you add energy cards to guarantee the attachment of 2 energy to one of your Pokemon, regardless of your hand state, though you need to discard a water Pokemon to get the full effects of the card, to mimic the requirement of having a blue card on top of your discard pile without being overly restrictive of when you can activate its effect. Finally, all the energy Knight Who Turned Evil effects are water, as it already demands a water card to be discarded, so it would make sense that all the energy involved would be water too. The next card up is Mr. Nice Guy, a yellow humanoid type Monstermon with the offensive ability 2 mana, heal 4 health if your last discarded card is red, and defensive ability 1 mana, block a purple Monstermon. Converting this card, I would make it a supporter trainer card with the effect heal 40 damage from one of your Pokemon that has any fire energy attached to it. For each fire Pokemon in your discard pile, I've drastically increased the amount of health you can heal, as if this is your only supporter card this turn, you probably heal way more with a less restrictive item card. The healing scales depending on how many fire types are in your discard pile, as this card cares about the colors of the cards in your discard pile, and while I could have had it discard a card from your hand, healing isn't that good of an effect, as many decks will try to kill you in one hit, so making the restriction into a potential benefit isn't too much to ask for. He's a nice guy after all. The last card to be converted is Dank Magician, a purple magical type Monstermon, with the offensive ability 5 mana, deal 8 damage, and defensive ability 1 mana, block a yellow Monstermon. Converting this card, I would make it a basic dark type EX card with 210 health, and the effects, ability, I Hate the Sun. As long as Dank Magician has any dark energy attached to it, Dank Magician has no weaknesses. 3 dark, Dank Magic Attack, 250 damage. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. ×2 Thunder weakness, resist 30 psychic damage. Retreat cost, 2 generic. EX cards are Pokemon with higher than average health and attack, in exchange for 2 prize cards when defeated. This is important, as prize cards are essentially the main win condition, with each player starting the game with 6 prize cards, represented by the top 6 cards from their deck placed face down on the table. Every time a player knocks out a Pokemon, they add 1 of their prize cards to their hand, and if a player obtains all 6, they win. Giving your opponent 2 prize cards means you lose twice as fast. It becomes a dark type, as the card Dank Magician is based on the card Dark Magician. In fact, I made both its health and attack based on the original card's attack and defense stats, being 2500 and 2100 respectively. Though its attack has the restriction, you can't use this attack twice in a row, as damage above 200 kills a lot of Pokemon in one hit, even through resistances. This attack costs 3 dark instead of 5 energy, as even cards that require 5 energy to unleash 200 plus damage, they all have some way to mitigate some of the cost, either by constantly gaining energy cards passively, or reducing the cost of its attack. Under certain conditions, Dank Magician has the ability to remove its own weakness, as purple and yellow Monstermon have a reciprocal relationship of countering and being countered by the opposite color. It has a thunder weakness, as yellow Monstermon counter purple Monstermons, and it has a psychic resistance, as dark types commonly resist psychic damage. Finally, it has the retreat cost of 2 generic, since nuking the active slot for just 3 energy is still way too much, even after 1 turn of guaranteed grace period. Making it harder to protect Dank Magician gives your opponent more time to remove it. If there's anything I should have changed, or any ideas on cards I should convert next, please let me know in the comments below, or on my Discord and Patreon for script writing and more behind the scenes stuff. And if you like this video, you should check out this one, where I added Magic the Gathering's cats into Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's impossible. He's the final boss. What is this garbage? This is literally his Blue Eyes White Dragon. What is this?
Damn it! I hate all card games.